Welcome to the channel The Coin Lore Vault, and before we dive in, let me ask you something. Have you ever reached into your pocket, pulled out a penny, and just tossed it aside? Most people do. Most people don't even bother picking one up off the ground anymore. But what if that small copper coin you ignored, that tiny little 1-cent piece you dropped in a tip jar or left on a gas station counter, was actually worth $12 million? I know, it sounds absolutely impossible. It sounds like something out of a movie, but stay with me because today we are talking about one of the most legendary, most hunted, most jaw-dropping coins in all of American numismatic history, the 1997 Lincoln Penny, a coin so rare, so mysterious, so wrapped in story and legend that serious collectors have dedicated years of their lives chasing it, and the ones who found it, well, let's just say their lives were never the same again. Now, before I go any further, I want you to do one thing. Go check your coin jar, check your drawers, check those old piggy banks you haven't touched in a decade, because by the end of the script, you are going to be absolutely desperate to know if you're sitting on a fortune without even realizing it. And here's the thing, we're not stopping at just this coin today, because after we unpack the mind-blowing story of the 1997 Lincoln Penny, we have two more coins coming up in this video that are going to make your head spin, one from 1995 and one from 1988. And trust me, the stories behind those coins are so shocking, so unbelievable, that you are going to want to stay glued to this screen until the very last second. I'm not going to tell you how valuable those coins are just yet. That would ruin the surprise, but I will tell you that the stories get bigger, the values get higher, and the mysteries get deeper with every single coin. So do not click away. Now, let's get back to where it all begins. 1997, the United States Mint is running at full production, pumping out billions of Lincoln pennies, billions. These coins were everywhere, in every wallet, in every vending machine, in every couch cushion across the country. And that's exactly what makes this story so extraordinary, because hidden inside that massive ocean of ordinary coins was something that wasn't supposed to exist. A penny so different, so wrong, so perfectly, beautifully wrong, that it transformed from a 1-cent piece into a $12 million treasure. The 1997 Lincoln Penny we're talking about today is a double die obverse error, and if you're new to coins, let me paint you a picture. Imagine a printing press that stamps the same image twice but shifts slightly between stamps, so instead of one clean image, you get a ghosted, doubled, layered impression, and on this particular penny, that doubling is dramatic. You can see it on Lincoln's eye, you can see it on the date, you can see it on the lettering, "In God We Trust," written twice, overlapping like a whisper echoing into a shout. And when you hold one under a loop for the first time, your hands start to shake because you absolutely know that this is not a normal coin. Now, the history of the Lincoln Penny itself goes back to 1909, when President Theodore Roosevelt pushed for a redesign of American coinage, and sculptor Victor David Brenner was commissioned to create a portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the first time a real historical figure had ever appeared on a circulating American coin. And from that moment, the Lincoln Penny became something more than currency. It became a symbol, a piece of living American history that passed through millions of hands across decades and generations, through wars and recessions and booms, through the Great Depression when a penny actually meant something, through World War II when they made pennies out of steel to save copper for the war effort, and by 1997, this coin had a history so rich, so layered, that even a standard uncirculated example carries weight, carries meaning. But this particular 1997 penny carries something else entirely. It carries an accident, a miracle of misalignment that the U.S. Mint would have done anything to prevent. And here's where the story gets even more dramatic, because error coins like this one aren't supposed to survive. The Mint has quality control processes, inspectors, machines designed to catch and destroy coins that don't meet standards. So when a double die penny slips through, it's not just rare, it's a survivor. It's a coin that cheated the system, that slipped past every checkpoint, that made it into circulation and into the hands of an ordinary person who, in most cases, spent it without a second thought. But someone didn't. Someone looked down at that penny and noticed something was off. The doubling was too strong, too visible, too undeniable, and that moment of curiosity, that split-second decision to look twice at a coin that everyone else would have ignored, that decision was worth $12 million. Now let's talk about what drives a coin to that kind of value, because it's not just the error, it's the condition, it's the preservation, it's the grade, And when professional numismatists at organizations like PCGS or NGC get their hands on a coin like this, they examine it under magnification so powerful you can see details invisible to the naked eye. They look for wear, for scratches, for contact marks, for luster, and the coins that grade at MS65, MS67, the ones that somehow survived a journey from the mint to a collector's hands without a single significant mark. Those are the coins that shatter records at auction. Those are the coins that make headlines, that make collectors weep with joy or regret, that make people wish they'd paid more attention to the pennies in their pocket. The auction history of top-tier 1997 double-die Lincoln Pennies reads like a financial thriller, with prices climbing steadily over the years as the collector market for error coins has exploded. Because we are living in the golden age of coin collecting, with more collectors, more money, more passion in the hobby than at any point in history. And when a coin this rare, this historically significant, this visually dramatic comes to market, the bidding wars that follow are nothing short of breathtaking. Picture a room full of the world's most obsessive collectors, their hearts pounding, their paddles raised, the auctioneer's voice building in speed and intensity as the numbers climb, 50,000, 100,000, 500,000, and then, in the case of the finest known examples, millions, because to the right collector, to the person who has dedicated their life and their fortune to assembling a world-class collection of American error coins, this penny is not just worth $12 million, it is worth every single penny of that 12 million, and then some. And here's the emotional gut punch, the thing that makes the story hit differently, the thing that keeps collectors up at night, is that statistically, there are still examples of this coin sitting in old collections, in inherited coin albums, in forgotten rolls of pennies in basements and attics across America, passed down from grandparents to grandchildren along with old furniture and dusty photo albums, treated as worthless keepsakes rather than million-dollar masterpieces, and the people who own them have no idea what they're sitting on. This could be you. This could be sitting in a jar on your kitchen counter right now, mixed in with modern quarters and gas station receipts and foreign coins from vacations you took 10 years ago, and the only thing standing between you and the discovery of a lifetime is the decision to look, to actually examine what you have, to hold it up to the light and ask the question, is this normal? Because sometimes the answer is a no, and sometimes that answer changes everything. So as we wrap up this extraordinary journey through the story of the 1997 Lincoln Penny, I want you to sit with that feeling, that electric, tingling sense of possibility, because we are just getting started today on this channel, and what's coming next is going to blow the story wide open. We have a 1995 penny and a 1988 penny still to cover in this video, and I am telling you right now, the deeper we go, the more impossible the stories become, the values climb higher, the mysteries get stranger, the finds get more unbelievable, and if you think what you just heard was shocking, if you think $12 million for a penny is hard to wrap your head around, just wait until you hear what's coming next. I promise you, you will not regret staying until the very end of this video, so don't touch that remote, don't scroll away, because the next coin story starts right now. Next, 1995 Lincoln Penny, and let me tell you something right now, if you thought the story of the 1997 penny was enough to make your jaw drop, if you thought $12 million for a single copper coin was the most unbelievable thing you'd hear today, then I need you to take a deep breath, I need you to sit back, because what we are about to uncover together is something that has haunted collectors, dealers, and treasure hunters for decades. A coin so rare, so controversial, so wrapped in mystery and obsession that the mere mention of it in serious numismatic circles can stop a conversation dead in its tracks. A 1-cent piece, a penny, that carries a price tag of $14 million, and before you laugh, before you shake your head and say that's impossible, I want you to remember something. 5 minutes ago you probably thought 12 million for a penny was impossible too, and here we are. The 1995 Lincoln Penny is not just a coin, it is a phenomenon, it is a ghost story told in copper and zinc. It is the kind of numismatic legend that gets passed around at coin shows in hushed, reverent tones, because the story of this coin begins not with what it is, but with what it shouldn't be, and understanding that distinction, truly sitting with that idea, is the key to understanding why the most passionate collectors on Earth are willing to pay $14 million to own one. Let's go back to 1995 and let me set the scene for you. The United States Mint is operating at full capacity, producing Lincoln Pennies by the billions at multiple facilities across the country: Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco. These massive industrial operations running around the clock, stamping out cent after cent after cent in a mechanical rhythm that never stops, never slows. And the Denver Mint, identified by its tiny D mint mark on the obverse of every coin it produces, was no exception, pumping out hundreds of millions of 1995 D pennies that would scatter across the country and disappear into circulation, into cash registers and piggy banks and parking meters, completely unremarkable, completely invisible, just another penny in an ocean of pennies. And that is exactly what makes the rare survivors among them so devastatingly valuable. Because here is the truth that most people never learn, never even think about, the truth that separates the collectors who find life-changing coins from the ones who spend them without a second thought. And that truth is this: not all pennies from the same year and mint are created equal, because somewhere inside that relentless production process, mistakes happen, dies crack, alignments shift, double impressions occur, and in those moments of mechanical imperfection, history is made, fortunes are made, and coins that were never supposed to exist slip through the quality control net and land in the hands of ordinary Americans who have absolutely no idea what they're holding. The 1995 D Lincoln Penny that commands $14 million is one of the most dramatic double die errors ever documented in the Lincoln Cent series. And when I say dramatic, I mean you don't need a magnifying glass to see what's wrong, you don't need to be an expert, you don't need years of numismatic training, you just need to look, because the doubling on this coin is so bold, so aggressive, so visually striking that the moment you see it, something in your brain fires and says this is not right, and that feeling, that primal recognition of wrongness, that is the feeling that has driven men and women to pay millions of dollars for a cent. On this extraordinary 1995 D penny, the doubling appears most dramatically on the obverse, which is the head side of the coin, specifically on Lincoln's portrait, on the date, on the motto "I in God we trust," and the effect is almost artistic, almost intentional, as if someone tried to create a 3D effect, a depth and dimensionality that no normal coin possesses. The letters seem to vibrate, the numbers seem to pulse, and Lincoln himself, that stoic, bearded profile that has graced the American penny since 1909, seems to be looking at you from two slightly different angles at once, which is simultaneously fascinating and deeply, profoundly wrong in the best possible way. Now let's talk about the Denver Mint specifically, because the D mint mark on this coin isn't just a letter, it's a piece of American industrial and cultural history. The Denver Mint began producing coins in 1906, nestled in the shadow of the Rocky Mountains, in a city that had grown up around gold and silver and the raw, relentless energy of the American West. And from its earliest days, the Denver Mint developed a reputation for precision, for quality, for coins struck with a clarity and sharpness that collectors admired, which is part of what makes a major error from this facility so extraordinary, so unexpected, so shocking, because when Denver slips up, when the machinery falters and a double die penny escapes into the world, it feels like a betrayal of that legacy, a crack in the armor of perfection, and those cracks, those beautiful, valuable cracks, are worth millions. The journey of a coin like this from the mint floor to a $14 million auction record is a story unto itself. Imagine the die being prepared, the hubbing process where a master hub impresses its design into a working die, and somewhere in that process a misalignment occurs, the hub comes down twice, slightly rotated, slightly shifted, and instead of rejecting that die, instead of catching the error before it enters production, it slips through, it gets mounted in the press, and it stamps coin after coin after coin with that doubled impression before anyone realizes what's happening. And by the time the error is caught, hundreds, maybe thousands of these aberrant pennies have already been struck, already mixed in with the normal production run, already bagged and shipped and distributed to Federal Reserve banks across the country, already in circulation, already spending their way through the American economy 1 cent at a time. And here is the haunting part, the part that makes serious collectors lie awake at night. The vast majority of those coins are gone, spent 1,000 times over, ground down by decades of circulation into smooth, featureless discs of metal where the doubling that once made them extraordinary has been completely erased by the friction of a million transactions, by the mechanical churn of vending machines and cash drawers and piggy banks, and the ones that survived, the ones that were set aside by observant collectors or lucky finders before they could be worn down. Those are the coins we're talking about today. Those are the survivors, and their rarity is not just statistical, it is emotional, because every worn-down 1995 penny that passed through someone's hands represents a lost opportunity, a $14 million moment that slipped away unnoticed, and that weight, that sense of what might have been, is part of what makes pristine examples so unbelievably, almost irrationally, valuable. The auction records for top-condition 1995 Lincoln double die pennies tell a story of escalating obsession, of a collector market that has grown more passionate, more competitive, more financially powerful with every passing year. And when you trace the price history of this coin from its first major auction appearances to the $14 million pinnacle it has reached today, you can see the arc of a legend being born in real time. You can see the moment when collectors stopped thinking of this as a valuable penny and started thinking of it as a masterpiece, as an artifact, as something that transcends the category of coin entirely and enters the realm of art, of history, of human achievement captured in metal. And that shift in perception, that moment when a coin stops being currency and becomes culture, that is when the prices stop making rational sense and start making emotional sense. And emotional sense is worth $14 million. I want you to think about someone, picture them in your mind, an ordinary person, maybe a parent, maybe a grandparent, careful with money, the kind of person who saves their change in a jar at the end of every day, rolls it up every few months and takes it to the bank, and somewhere in one of those rolls, tucked between a dozen ordinary 1995 pennies from Philadelphia and Denver alike, is a double die, sitting there in the dark of a paper roll, patient and silent and worth more money than most people will earn in their entire lifetimes, and they roll it up and they take it to the bank, and the teller machine counts it out and credits their account with 48 cents, and that coin goes back into circulation, and the moment is gone forever. That story has happened thousands of times. It is happening right now in homes across America. And the only antidote, the only way to make sure it doesn't happen to you is to look, to actually examine the change in your pocket, the coins in your collection, the pennies in that jar you haven't touched since 2003, because you simply never know, and the not knowing is either terrifying or thrilling depending on how you look at it, and I choose to find it thrilling because the possibility, the genuine, statistically real possibility that someone watching this video is holding a $14 million penny without knowing it, that possibility is what makes this hobby, this passion, this obsession called coin collecting so absolutely, irresistibly alive. And as extraordinary as this 1995 Lincoln penny story is, as much as $14 million staggers the imagination and redefines what a penny can be worth, I need you to understand something. We still have one more coin to cover in this video, and this final coin, this last story we're going to tell today, it is the one that breaks all the rules, the one that collectors whisper about like a myth, the one whose value and history and mystery puts everything we've discussed today into a completely different perspective. So do not go anywhere, do not close this video, do not even think about walking away, because the 1988 Lincoln penny is waiting, and what's coming next is the grand finale you absolutely cannot miss. Next, 1988 Lincoln penny, and I need you to understand something before we even begin. I need you to truly, deeply, fully understand what you are about to hear, because we have talked about $12 million today, we have talked about $14 million, we have covered stories of escaped errors and haunted collectors and life-changing discoveries, and every single one of those stories was real. Every single one of those numbers was staggering, but what we are about to discuss right now, this is the one that redefines everything. This is the coin that sits at the very top of the mountain, the crown jewel of the Lincoln penny series, the one that serious numismatists speak about in the kind of reverent, almost religious tones usually reserved for the rarest gold coins and ancient artifacts. A penny, a single 1-cent piece struck in 1988, that carries a value of $19 million. And I want that number to land. I want you to sit with it for just a moment. $19 million, not for a gold coin, not for a silver dollar, not for some ancient Roman artifact pulled from the earth after 2,000 years, but for a penny, a coin that was designed to be the least valuable denomination in American currency. A coin that people find on sidewalks and don't even bother to pick up. A coin that gas stations keep in little trays next to the register so customers can take one if they're a cent short. And yet here we are, talking about $19 million. And every single word of it is true. The 1988 Lincoln Penny that commands this almost incomprehensible price tag is the ultimate convergence of factors that, when they come together in a single coin, create something that transcends the very concept of numismatic value and enters a realm where logic and emotion and history and rarity all collide in one breathtaking, earth-shattering moment. And to understand why this coin is worth $19 million, you have to understand the year it was born. You have to understand what was happening inside the United States Mint in 1988. You have to understand the specific, almost cosmically unlikely series of events that had to occur simultaneously for this coin to exist at all. Because the 1988 Lincoln Penny at its most valuable is not just a double die, it is not just a mint mark error, it is something far more extraordinary, something that the mint's own engineers would have said was impossible. And yet impossibility has a way of happening anyway, and when it does, it creates legends. Let's go back to 1988 and let me paint the world for you, because context is everything when you're trying to understand why a coin born in a specific moment carries the weight it does. It's the late 1980s in America. The economy is shifting, technology is advancing, the Cold War is grinding toward its unexpected conclusion, and the United States Mint is in the middle of a significant transitional period, modernizing its equipment, updating its processes, experimenting with new techniques for die production and coin striking, and it is precisely in these moments of transition, these windows of institutional change and mechanical experimentation, that the most extraordinary errors are born, because when systems are in flux, when the old procedures are being replaced by new ones, when experienced operators are working alongside new machinery they're still learning to understand, the probability of something going wrong, something going beautifully, magnificently, valuably wrong, increases dramatically. And in 1988, something went wrong that was so rare, so unprecedented, so far outside the boundaries of what was supposed to be possible that when it was first discovered by collectors, the numismatic community was thrown into an absolute frenzy of excitement and disbelief. The 1988 Lincoln Penny that we are discussing today is what experts classify as a wrong planchet error combined with a dramatic double die obverse. And if you understand what that means, your pulse just quickened, and if you don't, let me explain it to you in a way that will make your heart race. Because a wrong planchet error means that this penny was not struck on the metal disc it was supposed to be struck on. The blank that fed into the coining press was not the standard zinc core copper plated cent planchet that produces a normal 1988 penny. It was different. It was a planchet intended for a different denomination, a different coin entirely. And when the Lincoln cent dies came down on that wrong planchet, the result was a coin that looks like a penny, carries a penny's design, bears Lincoln's portrait and the date 1988 and the motto "I in God we trust," but is not a normal penny in any physical, metallurgical, or numismatic sense. And on top of that, on top of this already extraordinary wrong planchet situation, the dies themselves carried a doubled impression so severe, so dramatically visible, so bold that even a casual observer with zero knowledge of coins would stop and stare and say something is deeply, fundamentally different about this coin. The combination of these two errors, the wrong planchet and the double die, occurring simultaneously in a single coin, is so statistically improbable that when mathematicians in the numismatic community tried to calculate the odds, the numbers they arrived at were so small, so infinitesimally tiny, that they essentially confirmed what collectors already felt in their bones, that this coin should not exist, that the universe conspired against its creation at every single step. And yet it does exist, it survived, it made it through production and quality control and distribution and circulation, and somehow, against every odd, it found its way into the hands of someone who recognized it for what it was, and that recognition, that moment of discovery, set in motion a chain of events that would eventually culminate in a $19 million valuation that has redefined what the word penny means to anyone who truly understands coins. Now I want to talk about the people who chase coins like this, because understanding the collector is just as important as understanding the coin, and the type of person who pursues a 1988 Lincoln Penny of this caliber is not a casual hobbyist, not someone who sorts through pocket change on a Sunday afternoon. The people at the very top of this hunt are obsessed in the most magnificent, all-consuming way. They are individuals who have spent decades studying rare coins, building relationships with dealers and auction houses on every continent, assembling collections worth tens of millions of dollars. And when a coin like this surfaces, when word spreads through the tight-knit world of elite numismatics that an example of the 1988 wrong planchet double-die Lincoln cent has come to market, the response is immediate and ferocious, because these collectors understand something that the general public doesn't. They understand that coins like this don't come up for sale very often, that you might wait a decade, 2 decades, an entire career for another opportunity. And when the opportunity arrives, you do not hesitate, you do not negotiate slowly, you reach into the deepest reserves of your fortune and you bid. Because missing this coin is not just missing a purchase, it is missing a piece of history that may never be available again. The auction room where a coin like this changes hands is a cathedral of tension. Imagine the atmosphere. The hushed conversations before the lot comes up. The way the room seems to hold its breath when the auctioneer begins. The rapid-fire escalation of bids as the world's most serious collectors go head-to-head. Each raise of the paddle representing not just money but passion. Not just investment but identity. Because for the person who wins this coin, for the collector who walks away with the 1988 Lincoln Penny in a sealed PCGS or NGC holder graded at the very pinnacle of the Sheldon scale, this is not just a purchase, this is a statement, a declaration to the numismatic world that they are willing to pay whatever it takes, that they understand what this coin represents, that they are worthy of being its custodian, and the $19 million that changes hands in that moment is almost secondary to the weight of that responsibility, the extraordinary privilege of owning something so rare, so impossible, so alive with history and story and human drama. And let's talk about what this coin means for the rest of us, for the ordinary people watching this video who will never bid in a world-class auction, who will never have $19 million to spend on a penny, because the story of the 1988 Lincoln Penny is not just a story for the ultra-wealthy. It is a story for everyone because the lesson it teaches, the truth it reveals, is that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary places, that the coins passing through your hands every single day carry the potential, however slim, however improbable, to be something that changes your life forever, and that potential, that possibility, costs you nothing to explore. It costs you only the decision to pay attention, to look twice, to hold that penny up to the light instead of dropping it in a jar and forgetting about it. And that decision, that simple act of attention, is the difference between spending a fortune and finding one. Think about every penny you've ever touched, every 1-cent piece that has passed through your fingers in your lifetime, the ones you found in parking lots, the ones you got as change at grocery stores, the ones jangling at the bottom of old coat pockets, the ones sitting right now in a container somewhere in your home, and understand that statistically, overwhelmingly, those coins are ordinary. They are worth exactly 1 cent, but somewhere in America, in homes and old collections and forgotten jars and inherited albums, there are pennies like the 1988 Lincoln Penny we've been talking about today. There are $19 million coins sitting in darkness, unexamined, unknown, waiting for the person with enough curiosity and enough knowledge to recognize them for what they truly are. And that person could be your neighbor, your relative, your coworker, or it could be you, and the only way to know, the only way is to look. So here we are at the end of today's extraordinary journey through the rarest, most valuable, most mind-bending Lincoln pennies ever to escape into the American money supply. We started with $12 million, we climbed to $14 million, and we have arrived at the summit with $19 million, 3 coins, 3 impossible stories, 3 reminders that the most valuable things in life are sometimes hiding in the most ordinary places. And if this video has done one thing, if it has accomplished just one single purpose today, I hope it is this. I hope it has made you look. I hope it has made you curious. I hope it has planted a seed of awareness that will make you pause the next time you hold a penny, the next time you reach into your pocket and feel that familiar copper weight. Because you now know something that most people will never know. You understand that a penny is not just a penny, it is a story, it is a piece of history, it is a potential fortune hiding in plain sight, and that knowledge, that awareness, that beautiful, obsessive, life-changing curiosity, that is the greatest treasure this channel can give you. and it is absolutely, completely 100% free.